In an ancient and magical land, far beyond the golden mountains and silver rivers, there lived a young man of extraordinary strength named Hercules. His fame crossed borders, but despite his bravery and power, there was a challenge that awaited him, one that would test not only his strength, but also his heart. Hercules, upon hearing about the mission, felt a mix of curiosity and determination. The legend of the horses of Diomedes had already spread throughout Greece, and many believed that taming them was an impossible task, destined to lead any man to ruin. However, Hercules was no ordinary man. His courageous heart and immense strength made him the hero everyone admired, and he knew that this mission, although deadly, was a testament to his courage and cunning. Upon arriving in the kingdom of Diomedes, Hercules was faced with a desolate scenario. The fields were abandoned, the houses were destroyed, and the people lived in constant fear. Diomedes, feared by everyone, reigned with an iron fist, using his horses as instruments of terror. Hercules then hatched a cunning plan to capture the horses. I knew that facing them directly would be too risky, as the ferocity of those animals was legendary. He therefore decided to use intelligence rather than brute force. First, Hercules captured Diomedes and took him to the horse stable. The hero knew that those wild animals recognized the cruel king as their master, and upon seeing him defenseless, they would turn against him. And so it was. The horses, upon sensing Diomedes' presence, rushed at him with uncontrollable fury, devouring him in an instant. Freed from their owner's evil influence, the horses, although still powerful and fearsome, began to calm down, becoming less indomitable under Hercules' influence. Hercules listened carefully to the king's words, feeling the weight of the responsibility entrusted to him. He knew that these were no ordinary horses, but wild and ferocious creatures, endowed with extraordinary strength and an instinct for destruction that defied any attempt at control. While the king described the trail of devastation left by the animals, Hercules' mind was already beginning to draw up a plan. He couldn't just capture them. It would be necessary to tame them, to tame the fury and fear that led them to spread chaos. The villages cried out for peace, and the destroyed crops symbolized the imminent famine that haunted the region. The journey would be long and arduous, requiring not only strength, but also cunning and compassion. Hercules took a deep breath, aware that he would face not only the brutality of the horses, but also the limits of his courage and determination. He knew that by accepting this challenge, he would be proving his worth not only as a hero, but as a protector of those who depended on his victory. The darkness of the night approached, and the howling wind carried with it the screams of the souls that had succumbed to the savagery of those indomitable beings. Hercules, amid the solitude of his thoughts, pondered the stories that preceded him, legends of fallen heroes and entire villages razed to the ground. He knew it wasn't just a matter of physical strength. It was necessary to understand the essence of the fear that lived in the hearts of horses. If he could transform it into trust, maybe, just maybe, peace would be restored. And as the stars began to shine in the sky, he prepared to face one of the biggest challenges of his life. Hercules traveled through barren lands and steep mountains until he found the horses. When he saw them, he noticed that their manes were stained with blood and their hoofs were breaking the ground with such fury that the ground shook beneath them. Even for someone as strong as Hercules, taming them seemed impossible. He knew he couldn't just take on the horses with brute strength. Instead, he would need to use his cunning. After days of observing the animals from a distance, Hercules had an idea. He found a rare herb in the mountains, known for its calming effect, and spread it across the field where the horses grazed. When the animals ingested the herb, they began to calm down, and their ferocity decreased. Taking advantage of the moment, Hercules approached the horses slowly, aware that any sudden movement could cause a violent reaction. His heart was beating fast, but his face remained calm and controlled. He knew that the key to taming these wild creatures was not brute force, but understanding and mutual respect. His steps were calculated, almost imperceptible, as if they were part of the nature around him. As he got closer, Hercules tilted his head slightly, closed his eyes for a brief moment, and began to whisper gentle words, as old as time itself. It was a song that the river nymphs had taught him, a melody full of wisdom and mystery, capable of penetrating the most hardened hearts. The song floated in the air like a whisper on the wind, carrying with it the essence of tranquility, and soon the horses began to show signs of relaxation. His tense muscles softened, and the fierce gleam in his eyes was replaced by an expression of curiosity and calm. The herb that Hercules had spread earlier was beginning to take effect, its subtle fragrance reinforcing the state of serenity that the song had induced. The horses, previously untamed, now seemed receptive, as if they recognized Hercules not as an enemy, but as an ally. He continued to sing, his voice blending with the gentle sounds of nature, creating a perfect harmony. Hercules knew that the success of that task depended not only on his physical strength, but on his ability to connect with animals, to understand their indomitable natures. The horses, known for their savagery and resistance, seemed to notice the difference in this man who did not treat them with fear or violence. As his fingers passed through the horse's mane, he felt a pulsing energy, a kind of silent communication that transcended words. The horse, by bowing its head, not only accepted the reins, but recognized in Hercules a spirit similar to its own, a warrior soul who understood the value of freedom, but who also knew the importance of discipline. The dawn light continued to bathe the scene with an almost mystical glow, highlighting the silver of the reins and the gold of the horse's coat, creating a contrast that seemed straight out of an epic tale. Hercules' eyes, normally full of determination and intensity, softened for a brief moment. He knew this was one of the 12 jobs, a task designed to test his limits, but in that instant, he saw more than a challenge to be overcome. He saw an opportunity to show that true strength didn't just lie in muscles or the ability to tame, but in the ability to create bonds where many saw only conflict. The gesture of putting the reins on the horse was not merely a physical action, it was a symbol of harmony between human strength and brute nature. Hercules understood that, by gaining the horse's trust, he also gained a part of himself that he had not yet explored, the ability to lead not through fear, but through mutual respect. The sound of the silver reins as they slid across the horse's neck seemed to echo like a silent oath between man and beast, a pact that sealed that moment as one of the most important in his heroic journey. With the horses finally tamed, Hercules took them back to the city. On the way, he felt a deep sadness for the animals, who had been forced to become monstrous creatures by their master's cruelty. When he reached his destination, the king of the city, grateful, offered him a great reward. However, Hercules refused, asking only that the horses be released on an isolated island where they could live in peace, far from the evil influence of humans. The king, impressed by Hercules' wisdom and compassion, agreed without hesitation. The horses, once feared for their uncontrollable ferocity, were driven to a distant island, a place that seemed to have been designed by the gods themselves. There, the fields were vast, verdant and dotted with wildflowers, a true paradise where nature reigned supreme. In this refuge, the horses could gallop freely, their manes blowing in the wind, under a blue sky that stretched like an infinite cloak, free from the shadows of human cruelty that once tormented them. The land that welcomed them was fertile, the streams ran crystal clear, and the wild animals lived in harmony, a reflection of the new life that awaited them. Hercules, upon completing yet another of his legendary adventures, felt satisfied not only by his extraordinary strength, but by having exercised an even rarer power, that of compassion. He understood, perhaps better than many, that a hero's true strength lies not only in defeating his enemies, but in offering mercy when possible, restoring the balance between justice and kindness. Returning to his homeland, Hercules carried with him not only the glory of yet another heroic deed, but also the satisfaction of knowing that he had changed the destiny of beings who, despite their savagery, deserved a second chance. The echo of his steps in history would not only be remembered for the battles won, but also for the heart that knew how to see beyond violence, recognizing the dignity in all creatures. Walking through the hills that would take him back home, Hercules reflected on everything he had experienced. Every scar on his body was a reminder of the struggles he had fought, but also the lessons he had learned. On one of these hills, he came across a wise old man who, sitting under the shade of a tree, watched him with a serene gaze. Intrigued, Hercules approached. "I see that you are a great warrior," said the sage, with a gentle smile. "But tell me, Hercules, what have you gained from all these battles?" Hercules pondered the question for a moment before answering. "I gained peace of mind in knowing that I did what was necessary, but I also learned the importance of choosing compassion, even in times of conflict. Power may be a blessing, but it is wisdom that guides the hand of the true hero." The sage nodded, satisfied with the answer. "So, you have already conquered the greatest of treasures, which is not gold or fame, but the understanding that true strength lies in the harmony between justice and forgiveness. Continue with that balance, Hercules, because that is what will make you a legend that will last beyond the ages." With these words, the sage stood up and, with a gesture, opened a sparkling portal between the trees. This is the path to a journey that few have the honor of walking. On it, you will not face monsters or giants, but something much more challenging, the depths of your own heart. If you are ready, enter and discover what it really means to be a hero. Hercules, without hesitation, walked through the portal, feeling a strange mixture of apprehension and curiosity. On the other side, he found himself in a dreamlike landscape where the colors were more vibrant and the air seemed charged with an ancient and powerful energy. There, he saw versions of himself at different stages of his life: the impetuous young man, the ruthless warrior, and the man who was beginning to understand the true meaning of his strength. Each version of Hercules confronted him with difficult questions, making him revisit his decisions, his regrets, and his victories. It was as if he were looking in a mirror, but the reflection showed more than his appearance, revealed the essence of his soul. At the end of this introspective journey, Hercules understood that his true battles were not on the fields of war, but within himself. And, upon reaching this understanding, he felt stronger than ever. He realized that a hero's legacy is not just in the stories told by others, but in the truths he discovers and embraces throughout his life. When Hercules finally emerged from the portal, the sage was still there, waiting for him. "Now you are ready," he said, "not for another battle, but for the greatest achievement of all, inner peace." With a deep sense of accomplishment, Hercules thanked the sage and resumed his path home, knowing that, Despite all the adventures and challenges that could still arise, he had found the true essence of what it means to be a hero. As he walked along the trails that would take him back to his homeland, each step was lighter than the last, as if the ground beneath his feet was welcoming and embracing him, acknowledging the burden he carried on his journey. The landscapes around him, once threatening and filled with hidden dangers, now seemed friendly, revealing a nature he had previously overlooked in his rush to conquer. The gentle wind that touched his face brought with it memories of his battles, not as shadows that would haunt him, but as lessons he would carry with him forever. He felt the warmth of the sun on his shoulders, reminding him that although his body was tired, his soul was refreshed. The scars on her skin were marks of a life well lived, each telling a story of courage, sacrifice, and, above all, personal growth. And, from somewhere beyond time, the stars shone brighter, as if the constellation of Hercules itself in the sky recognized the transformation of one who was once just a warrior, but who had now become a true guardian of wisdom and of compassion.